Hi, everyone. Welcome back to episode 9 of the Take 4 podcast, where we are going to be talking about men and stress. And this is a topic that I know has been getting a lot of attention in today's world, especially because men are not very good about talking about stress. So we're going to open up the platform today. Mark is going to lead us into some discussion. But before we do that, I'd like to encourage you to follow us, to subscribe. Thank you to those who already do so. We're on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, so many more that I can't remember right now. So please support us. We need your love. We need your support. And especially on topics like this, we'd love to hear what you think. If there's anything that you hear that moves you, that you feel that you need extra help on, we're here. We're your friends and we support you. So I'm actually going to read out some stats, which were really disturbing actually for me, guys. So I had to actually write them down. Men and stress. 77% of men polled to have suffered with anxiety, stress, and depression. 77%. 40% of men have never spoken to anyone about their mental health and how they feel. That's crazy.
It's crazy.
29% of the above 40% say that they are too embarrassed to talk about how they feel. And 20% of those say that it's because of negative stigma attached to it. Mm-hmm. And I think I'd also probably be really interested to hear, Mark, and Ramon, but like coming from an Indian background, it's even more accentuated where men definitely don't talk, or most men are encouraged not to talk about their stress from a cultural perspective. So, yeah.
What are our thoughts on just why men feel this way?
Let's go.
You know, from a woman's perspective, like, where do you think it comes from? And like, we could listen and we could be like, yep, no.
That's actually quite interesting.
Yeah.
To compare the notes
to compare the notes to kind
of what our perception of your stresses is
versus the reality.
Yeah.
Because I bet it's different.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Well, can I kick off?
Yeah, kick it off, yeah.
So I think there is a lot of pressure on men to be the hunters, whereas women are the gatherers. So we keep home, you guys go out and bring the meat home.
Yeah.
There's pressure to be successful, rich, provide, look after your families, your children.
Look strong.
Look strong, be physically strong, protect your woman, protect the ones you love.
That is important, though.
Protect the ones you love.
Yeah. That is important, though.
It is.
No, and I would say that because, like, and I might get some hate for this, but like, the way, just talking about my experience, guys.
Right, just like 50 says.
Yeah.
I need you to hate so I can use you for your energy. So bring it.
What he said, but I think of, okay, the dude is kind of like the head of the household, almost like he's the coach of the team, right? So there is there are certain traits and responsibilities that coach must have and must adopt. There is a level of stoicism, I believe, that a coach should have, especially in a time of crisis, to lead the team to glory. I know that a lot of people are like, well, as a man, you should express your feelings and stuff like that. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that, and I'm not saying that you should not have an outlet for that. And actually, later on in the show, I will actually highlight some examples that I actually haven't seen in the media about how you could, if you are the coach, talk to somebody, right? And anyway, even these coaches, right, that coach Premier League football teams, they have therapists, right? They have confidants that they talk to about stuff like this. So the idea of you, like, dealing with the stuff and going through it by yourself, I've always, to your team, maybe hold off on the whole sharing, but I've always felt that, like, if you have a network of people around you that you can talk to, then that's the best. I am a part of a club called MMA Krav Maga, and it's headed by this lovely lovely head coach called Ricky Manetta, and
Shout out.
I call him my life guru because I see him as really more. He's more than a trainer and a coach, right? He really coaches me through my life. My father's passed away, and I don't actually have many, I would say, big father figures that I look up to personally.
Like role models.
Yeah, and I wouldn't give that position away because my dad was a G, okay? My dad was the best. So when it comes to stuff like that, like, you have to have certain people who have had that life experience that you can go to, like mentors. If you don't have, say, friends who are in your peer groups, if you're religious, you could talk to, say, like a pastor or something like that. If you're not religious, then, I would say the fight gym, a good fight coach actually is best, because the relationship between a fighter and a coach, it transcends more than just fighting.
100%.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to interrupt.
No.
What, as a guy,
Yeah.
like, so as a woman, like, anytime something goes wrong or I'm upset, I don't think twice about picking up the phone and calling a friend and talking through how I feel, and then we come to a solution together. Often I never take the advice, but I still ask.
Yeah.
Like, what stops in general, and I don't mean to generalize, because I'm saying that all men are like this, but as a sister and a daughter, I find that my dad and my brother are a lot more composed and calm. It's not that they're not going through life and experiencing the emotions, but what stops men from communicating their emotions?
For me, it's quite interesting because I could see where Mark's coming from. With me, it's a woman has to be in her true feminine energy.
Okay.
Because I'm talking about from a relationship perspective, because that's where I come from. I don't come from me as a single man. I come from as a relationship. If my partner's in her feminine energy, which means she's going to be more nourishing, more affectionate, more soft, so to speak, it allows me to actually open up.
So you're saying it's the environment that a man needs to be in order
I was
for it to
about
be the right
say,
environment.
Like, it's the safe space to share and feel like you're being heard and seen.
My dad is wonderful. He's always been the strong person in our lives. He's always been the one that held our family together. And sort of quite recently, he's experienced what anxiety feels like. It's normal. But the beauty of what we've developed in my father here is that he has a safe platform to talk to with my mum, with myself. And actually, if I were to ask him, he said that he spent many years of his life as a man not being able to say that because he felt that he needed to protect us and look after us. But now that he is able to talk about some of those things, it's beautiful because actually it helps, it encourages other people because we all struggle.
And you can see the humanity in each other. Why do men not express themselves? Because I feel like the soil has to be right.
Yeah.
They have to be empowered. Like, as weird as it sounds, when I'm struggling and I'm like really going through it, my body's aching, whatever the case may be, on a strict diet, working, got multiple things that I'm juggling, businesses, this, that. If I get, hey baby, I'm proud of you, keep doing what you're doing, when I go out the door, I love you, I come out that door like Superman, flying off. And that's what I, need to be able to be in my feminine energy to express how I feel.
I kind of feel a little bit different about that. Like, in a way, like, I kind of feel like, well, yeah, I mean, in an ideal world, that's actually that's pretty good.
Once again, it's just how I feel.
Yeah,
and
no.
And I like the fact that there's contrast.
No.
And once again, we always speak from our experience.
Yeah.
We're no authorities or anything.
No.
It's just our experiences and best practices that we can bring to the table.
Yeah. But in an ideal world, that's great, right? But I always like the idea, because my upbringing is a little bit different. I went to a naval school and stuff like that. I learned how to work together, like, with men, and I kind of realized actually that a lot of men don't actually have good, like, solid male friends. They don't have, like,
you're 100%.
You know what I mean? Like, girls have their girlfriends, like, but guys
100%
don't have guy friends. Like, they don't. Like, bromances is kind of, like, frowned upon.
Yep.
Look,
It's so true.
first of all, I like a bromance.
Facts.
And if you ain't got a bromance, you can bromance with me. Okay?
No, you're mine.
I see. So I mean,
What are you doing?
this is,
No.
Get a room,
bromance with
guys.
me. Like, I'm on Insta. No, but like they don't have like guy friends that they can relate to and actually like because
Open up.
yes, because like way back in the tribal times where we just had spears and stuff like that. What did you have? You had like a tribe of men like that just hung around and helped each other out.
Killed things.
Helped each other out and bonded. But like, but my main point was there was teamwork. You guys were doing it together. There was camaraderie. And it like the thing I love about my naval schools, it didn't really matter about what you looked like. It didn't matter about your thoughts or your politics or anything like that.
Yeah.
The good thing about it is that it was a
together.
space and it was a male space and we all got together with
I
one
think it's
goal.
having that joint mission, and I feel like now there's so many friendships are being forged online when that's how your relationship came about. Playing, you're on a mission, you're doing something together, like your heart rates align.
Yeah.
You feel like you bonded.
You're accomplishing something together,
You're
yeah.
accomplishing something together, and this is where those friendships are built, and this is where you kind of get to know each other and really start opening up and potentially one day share personal stuff.
Yeah, and I think you know what I think if you have the relationship with say your woman and all that, I do believe that you have that responsibility to be a pillar, right? And it's a pillar to her, not a pillar in life, right? There's a difference. That is when you actually have like other friends that you can talk to that help out.
Yeah.
I had this uncle who I loved. He was my favorite uncle. Okay, well, all my uncles now know. My favorite uncle was Uncle Albert, right? Loved him. He was absolutely great, right? Because Uncle Albert, man.
Legend.
Oh, man.
Myth.
Love him.
I really miss that dude. Yeah. Because like every time he'd come to my house and everything, like the way he was like my dad's confidant. Like if my dad was like Don Corleone, right? He was like he was that like lawyer dude. Yeah, he was that dude. He was right by him all the time. And you don't need to have like 16 friends, right? But through thick and thin, when people like fall out and when people have issues, or when my dad had his struggles, and he had a lot of struggles, Uncle Albert was the one guy that was always there. And it was my first kind of tutelage into how men should be around men.
That's crazy.
Because you learn.
The one thing that I really want to take away from this is like you only need one.
Yeah.
You like really and truly need one good man, one good like masculine energy in your.
I think you can also. I think if you're willing to have that in your life, you're going to attract as a man that type. You're going to place importance on that,
100%.
and then form your group accordingly.
According to that.
But do you think it's possible to have stress? And struggle with the anxieties of this world, as I'm sure you guys all have in some shape or form in your life, and still be strong and the protector.
Yeah.
And, you can still be very much in your masculine energy, but also be breaking down.
Yeah, it just goes back to who your pillar, who are you trying to pillar, right? If I'm in a relationship with a woman, I'm meant to be her pillar. So I'm not going to come to her with everything, because then I stop being the pillar. But if I
But do you think is that a responsibility? Do you feel that responsibility? Because I would
100%,
not.
But I don't think that's a bad thing. I think where men go wrong is that they feel like they have to shoulder everything by themselves, right? And I also think that, sometimes, because my thing is that, look, you could share the wrong thing to the wrong person. It could get used against you. That's happened. I've seen that happen to guys. And then that causes even more of a shutdown.
I feel like if you're in a successful relationship, like, and you're looking for the long term, like you're looking for companionship for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
It depends on what you're If you're looking for companionship for the rest of your life,
which is probably why, like, this is why I wanted you to weigh in and me to weigh in, because
we have different perspectives.
Well, this guy's been a relationship guy and I've not. So like,
Also, there are attachment style.
You're getting two different perspectives.
Yeah, two different perspectives.
You're getting one from someone that's a lone wolf and excels in that area, and someone that's a hopeless romantic, which has a lot of failures, that finally, found a place where he can call home.
But also, a lot of those relationships that you've been in have been the cause of your
growth,
stress,
and stress,
and
growth and everything.
Which actually segues into my next point. Life as a man is stressful, but through those stresses, you learn about life, and it makes you formidable.
Yes.
You know, and you know, how much is too much? Like, what do you guys think? Because there was times when I was growing up where like my dad had to like be a dad, and he'd be like to my mum, "No, let him, you know, let him do his own thing." And like, what, like, when for you do you think too much? When do you think is this stress too much for the kid, or do you have a parameter for that, or are you just like full nurture mode?
I think it's important to like raise resilient kids, and it's like you have 2 boys, so it will be like interesting to hear like what is it that you would like to instill in them before they become like men, and you know they have all the tools that they can then use in order to kind of deal with life and stresses and you know anything really that life throws at them. So in terms of going back to good bad stresses, yes, we need to be stressed in order to grow. Like the way like our muscles grow is because they get stressed, you know,
or when we fast.
Exactly, when we fast, when we take ice bath, it's all stress.
It's all stress.
There is beneficial stress, but then when the stress is not managed and it becomes like like overwhelming in your life, that's when it becomes an issue. When there's no tools to deal with that stress, there's no like alleviation from there, whether it's like through conversation, through certain like self-care practices, you know, your meditation, your rest, your time to yourself, you know. It's so just going back, it's like it's having those tools. And where do boys get those tools? Are they fathers able to pass them on to their children? Because I know like moms play a role, but if we truly concentrate on men, dads play a huge role. And there are kids that grow up without fathers, kids that grow with fathers, but the fathers are not skilled or participating.
Or sometimes they're just too much. Like again, look, I went to a naval school, and like some of the dads there like used to like, you know, I got disciplined, but like again, my dad, that kind of stopped. Again, you know, even for a Nigerian family, like it stopped quite early because, you know, I went to naval school, and, you know, he was just kind of like, well, you know, you're a man now. So you're going to have to make these choices, and you're going to have to kind of, you know, you kind of have to take accountability and stuff, but I'm not going to like beat you like a kid.
My dad and my mom separated when I was 9 years old, and my dad was in and out of my life. And I would say he was a funny man, but he was not there. Like to say dad, I look at him more like a father. My stepfather.
And what's the difference between that? Sorry,
a dad and a father?
Yeah, to you. Sorry.
A father's a person that gave you birth.
Okay.
That assisted in your birth.
With you.
And a dad is a person that's there, guiding you, molding you.
Okay.
You know,
cool.
You know, like I say, you know, hey dad, can you help me with this girl? You know, I should I get her flowers? Should I get her chocolate?
Yeah.
You know, that's a dad. Dad says, you know what to do.
A father on paper, a dad is the heart, you know.
And, you know, I had a, abusive stepfather, very toxic, which I had, ironically, the best relationship with as I was growing up. And then he became a drug addict. But I was very fortunate. So we talked about the direct impact of men in a boy's life.
Yeah.
And this is number one. So I had my uncle, and he'd take us out. I mean, to anything. I mean, we would go to laser tag. I mean, loads of things. And he was very big on like, if you don't know your history, it's going to repeat itself. Don't listen to what people say. Research.
Yeah.
And he held you accountable. So I was fortunate enough to have that person in my life that helped. So that's number one. The impact of a male in a male's life is number one. And two is how you are as a person. Like say, for example, let's say me and Vadia, we have a beautiful child. There's still going to be 400 personality traits that child has that has nothing to do with me and her. Everyone is individual. For example, your brothers, you'd react completely different to their life experiences
100%.
because they are different. So it boils down to, okay, who are you and what do you want to become? And
so just to reel it back to the topic, it's so how will that help you with dealing with life and stresses? So I understand you're gonna be unique, that's A, and you did mention that it's important to have maybe a strong male role model to help you, to shape you, to so you deal better with life. But how do you want to utilize the uniqueness and help you to deal with stresses? So what is kind of the link there where you're trying to make a connection with the topic?
I think it's life experience. It's like dealing with a lot of childhood traumas and a lot of stresses that I've overcame through the years. It's like a rubber band stretching.
Gotcha. So what are you trying to say is like having the awareness of your experiences, traumas, and being able to analyze yourself, where you can tailor basically your coping mechanisms and have like a better grasp on your stresses.
Not having a victim mentality, like somebody has done something to you.
But I also feel like it's actually challenging where that thought process comes from. So like you
that's
think,
what I was trying to get.
So you think about it like, and I'm just saying this from someone who's Kenyan, like a young Maasai warrior, in order to become a man back in the day, killed a lion.
Yes.
And based on him successfully killing a lion with his bare hands or a spear or whatever, he then became a man.
Yes.
Yeah. And you have that confidence going into adulthood. That you tick that off your list, and therefore you have the confidence and become a man. Yeah,
exactly.
100%. Yeah.
But then that man has a relationship breakdown, let's say, and he then feels like, I'm the man who killed the lion, but I'm crying over a woman because I feel, or I'm struggling with anxiety, and I don't know, I can't quite put my finger on what's happening. Yeah. I think there is a lot of pressure on men to be a certain way, and historically, the blueprint has been there the whole time.
But I think
be strong, be brave, do not buckle.
But I think it goes back to what I was saying about people not knowing anything about anything. It's just like, look, there is no quintessential way to be a man. This whole kind of like alpha, sigma, I think is all BS. There is, the whole thing about masculinity is that there's many, many ways to prove your value. For me, masculinity, right, to be top tier masculine, you have to provide some sort of value to yourself, your friends, or society. There's many ways to do that. You don't have to lift weights. You don't have to be able to knock people out. You don't have to be able to be a hunter. You just have to be valuable. So any kind of value that you can add is fine. Einstein, to me, is alpha, right? Because he provided value to not only to himself, but to hundreds, if not millions of other people. Tesla, also alpha. But you know what? Arnold Schwarzenegger's also alpha. Like, I kind of feel like with masculinity, we're kind of given this one-size-fits-all thing. And I'm very, 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 again, when I'm talking on this show, and especially when I'm talking about, like, male figures, I'm talking to the camera like I'm talking to my favorite little brother. There are many, many ways to provide your value in this society. And there's many, many ways that you do have value to whoever's watching or listening at home. You have to find out what that is for you. It might not be lifting weights. It might not be being a top-ranked fighter. Like, it might not be being a politician. But whatever it is, as long as it's something that provides value, then you're onto a winner.
But actually, in addition to what you're saying, as a woman, I feel like the most intimate relationships that I've had with men have been once they've actually pulled down this curtain and they've shown me who they really are. And for me, that's vulnerability. That's saying, actually, I don't have my shit together. I'm upset by this. I'm scared of this. And somehow...
it's soothing for you.
It's soothing, but it also helps me see the person for who they really are, and it draws us close together. So, like, if men out there think that you always need to be brave and macho and, have your shit together, you don't, because actually it's not as sexy as when you just turn up and say, hey, this is who I am.
I think you do need to have that for sure.
I think it's a fine kind of balance.
My mum used to do this thing when we were kids, right? Like whenever something needed to be like whenever we got a new bed or something, right? What my mum would do is she'd put us in a room, put the instructions, and then just shut the door and leave us there. And you know what?
6 months later.
No, actually, no. But what it does is, like, what she was trying to do, really, in that, was she was trying to kind of the whole idea of you, because I know what you're saying, right? But I want to explain it in a different way. There's going to be situations in life where you're faced with problems that you don't have the answers to right now. Yeah. But you have to have faith in yourself that you can work through them. So again, back to the story is like, my mom knows that I don't work in Halfords, like, or IKEA. But there's some instructions there. There's some tools. Figure it out. Yeah. You know, and I think try to kind of hone in on that, other than the appearance of being able to, you know, have everything together.
Yeah, I think there's 2 points. There's like the man in singularity, like by himself, and you're absolutely right. When you're a lone wolf, you have to have those attributes. Yeah. You know, but when you're in a relationship, there has to be. You got to take the wall down a bit, because what happens is that person wants to feel that they can rely on you as well.
Yeah, it needs to be trust there. I get that.
So if you're like fucking come through the door like Terminator, nothing's wrong.
I'll be back.
So just coming back to the subject and probably like edging towards the closure, is it you guys have kind of, you have your coping skills and you're relatively adjusted and you're dealing with life not too badly, you know, you're successful in your fields and, you know, you have good networks around you. So what is it like if both of you could say maybe 3 things that kind of keeps you grounded and helps you to manage your stresses? It not going into like too long of a conversation. What would be like those like 3 things for everybody that kind of help you with your stresses and anxieties and, you know?
Sure. Okay, so 1 is making sure you have time for yourself. Okay, so you can present yourself to the world as who you actually are. You have that space of clarity. 2, get a coach. Camp Lion Fitness, you know, Krav Maga. Sometimes you got to get stressed out as a man. I always say, like, training is like going to a glass house to break stuff. Sometimes you got to just punch, you got to lift weights, you got to exercise. Exercise can help reduce a lot of stress. Yeah. Lastly, don't take things too serious. Like, what I mean by that is, like, life is always hard enough. Don't take it too serious, because it only makes it harder. Yeah. For example, a lot of times we suffer more from the judgment of what we're going through
and the resistance
rather than the experience itself. Like, have you ever like had a cut and you're like, oh my God, and then like 2 minutes later you don't feel anything?
Okay.
Yeah.
Mark?
My 3 things, I would say number 1 is just to stay calm. I just feel like whenever things happen, a lot of people are reactive. Whereas actually, if you stay calm in a situation, you try and think calming thoughts, whatever reactions you do have, they tend to come from a more logical, measured place. And I think what you'll find is that you'll tend to make less mistakes. In general. Yeah. It's not always that way, but I think you will tend to make less mistakes from a reaction to a bad situation than than just erupting.
Self-restraint.
Yeah, exactly. The second one I would say is have an Uncle Albert.
That's a good one.
Have an Uncle Albert.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
I have my Uncle Albert. I have many Uncle Alberts.
That's lovely.
I'm actually quite blessed. I have many Uncle Alberts who I can call on.
That's awesome.
And at any time and just, talk to them and stuff. And, when you have that, honestly, the stresses and all these kind of things, they're still going to be there in the morning, trust me. But you'll find that it's just less of a task than to deal with by yourself. And I will say the third one is go back to your creed.
Yeah.
Every man has to have a creed.
Yeah. Legacy, yeah.
That's my own belief. And I really believe in that.
Yeah.
Like, you have to have your own thing, your own set of ideals, right? Whenever the situation is going to where it's going to, go back to the creed. Go back to the creed, your own personal creed of what it is to be a man for you.
Yeah.
And what what you ideally stand for.
Yeah.
And if you've honored your creed, most of the time you'll get through whatever the thing is, whatever the issue is.
That's a fact.
That, for me, that's my own personal thing.
Yeah.
And the creed is your own creed. It could be anything. Like, obviously, don't be a drug dealer. But, like, you know, it should be something honorable. That's my point.
That makes sense, yeah.
You know.
Something of good character.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, thank you. Thank you guys for that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be beneficial for, like, both genders, you know. It's always good because we live in times of division. You know, we're constantly trying to be divided, whether like racially, gender. Now there's so many different other ways for us to find division. So it's good to come together and actually kind of share our challenges and find that support in, you know, in all groups around you.
So fellas, don't worry about a thing, because every little thing is gonna be all right. Yo, Mark, take us out, brother.
Ooh, it's a new song. It's added to the playlist. Well, that concludes our episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I hope that this was beneficial. It's quite an important topic. It's a topic that is actually quite close to me. And I really, really hope that whoever's listening has kind of gained something from this. Again, none of us are experts. We're just using our life experiences to kind of, I guess, help you guys. And again, help ourselves. But I hope it was really beneficial. And I really, really, really hope that you guys have gained some insights. Whether it's a woman watching, I hope that it's helped you understand your man more. And if you're a dude who is, you know, currently lost, I'm lost all the time. I hope that this has, you know, really, really helped you, because it is an important topic. There will be some links that we'll be sharing in the description that you can follow if you do need to talk, because that is very, very important. And I hope you got something from this.
Socials?
Yes. Moving on to the socials. Like, comment, subscribe, and download. We are on YouTube at the T4 Podcast, and on Instagram at the Take 4 Podcast, and on TikTok at the Take 4 Podcast.